Hi, my name is Corrine Malcolm, and I am here in Chamonix giving you an inside look, kind of inside Adidas Terrex at our big, beautiful chalet in the valley here as everyone is getting ready for the UTMB races this week. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a behind the scenes look day after day after day this week to hopefully give you better insight into what all of our athletes are doing to get ready for their races this week. We've got two athletes racing today in TDS. Katarina Miatieva and Cordis Hall are taking on TDS. But today, right now, I am joined by our teammate, Robbie Simpson. Robbie, you're racing OCC later this week.
Yeah.
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 He's excited because it's only 55K as opposed to the 145K that they're racing currently. You are an incredibly fast marathoner, like a 2:15 marathoner. This is not going to take you 2 hours and 15 minutes. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, yeah, it's a pretty long race for me, I guess. I'm quite new into the ultra stuff, so for me, 2 hours 15 is like, I guess a normal time to be racing for. Whereas this will be 2 and a bit times longer than that on a good day.
Yeah, on a good day, a little bit longer. So my big question is that obviously you do a lot of really fast running, a lot of really fast training. How different does that look, and how honestly is it an advantage maybe to bring that training into a race like this?
Well, I think in a race like this, although there's still a lot of elevation and it's relatively long for me, there's still a lot of fast running there. And although I'm maybe not running the same pace as in the marathon, just being comfortable running quite fast on smooth trails I think does help, just because you're working a bit easier. But again, it's totally different in terms of the training for the race. Don't know if you want to go into that at all, but the way I've trained for this is totally different from a marathon. It'd be a massive mistake for me just to rock up here and think, oh yeah, I did a marathon, okay, so I think I can run well over 5.5, 6 hours. So I've trained completely differently.
Yeah, so you're doubling or tripling the time out. Plus, there's 10,000 feet of climbing. What does that like? Obviously, training has to change. So what have you taken from your marathon training, and what have you changed into this ultra endurance, this vertical training?
Well, to be honest, I changed the training a lot, hugely. So in the marathon, it was all about flat, fast sessions. The long runs are maybe 2.5 hours max. Whereas coming into this, I just dropped. I haven't done a single interval session on the flat for probably 3 months now. But I still feel I've got some kind of flat turnover. So I've been keeping some of every week still doing some flat, easy runs and maybe a faster kind of moderate paced flat run. But really the key workouts have changed. So instead of being a long tempo run or sort of long intervals at marathon pace, it's been getting out for quite a few hours and trying to do a lot more vert. And that's been fun because I love running on trails normally, and going from the winter doing that to then being summer on the mountains has just been amazing. But yeah, the main thing is trying to build up those hours and elevation and just get used to eating. That's the huge difference, I think. In 2 hours 15, you need to fuel, but it's not vital that you nail it every part of the race. Whereas when you're going to be doing, I know for a lot of people here, even 55k is quite short, but for me it's long, so I have to really nail the nutrition right from the start and just keep getting energy in.
Yeah, and then so you recently you raced Sierra Zinal just 2 weeks ago?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks ago, so really relatively fast race, but quite a bit of vert. Does a race like that bring confidence for you into this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely, because the main thing for me is normally I come out into the Alps and I train early season, try and get used to the mountains, get fit. But this time, because of all the COVID restrictions and travel restrictions, I was based in the UK and just running up small hills all the time. So then I came out here with a few weeks before the race just to do some training, but I was thinking, well, I could go well. In the past, I've been in the top 3 a few times, or it could be a disaster because I haven't been out on the big climbs. And I was really happy to see that I did have the fitness and I was able to run up those climbs and also run well at altitude, or relatively well. So I think coming into this, I'm really happy with how things have gone, and I just hope because it's longer, it's just slightly less intense.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully slightly less intense. You'll obviously still have a lot of really fast running. So my big question is, you've only run a couple 50Ks actually. You're running 55Ks this weekend. You've run longer than that, so once, so that shouldn't be too bad. What for you, obviously, with this kind of change in distance and this change in racing format, do you have a mantra that you're going to be taking into the race this weekend?
Not really, no. I never tend to come into races with any kind of mental preparation or something. It's just you start here, you finish there, and you try and do the bit in the middle as well as possible, as quickly, but not. Yeah, obviously you have to pace it well, and just think how am I going to do this as well as possible? And I've been over the course and stuff and tried to think how I might feel at different points, how I might pace it, where I'm going to be eating and drinking. and then just trying to fight it out. Like, it's going to be hard, but
Yeah. It seems like you have to have a really detailed plan going into this. You've got to nail your nutrition. You've got to nail your pacing. Did you sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm going to eat here, here, and here, and this is how I'm going to pace here, here, and here? Or is it people go into races with a plan, the gun goes off, and sometimes the plan goes out the window. Are you prepared for that aspect?
Yeah, I never ever make a plan. So that's the difference between what I've done before in ultras. Because like before, I just turn up and run and just see how I feel. But now I feel like I do need to do a bit of homework. Like, what am I going to eat? Like, roughly how fast am I going to run? But I'm not bothered about the pacing side of it. I think I'm just going to run and see how other guys are running, and I kind of know what feels like too hard and too easy, and just try and stay in that sort of middle ground where I should manage the race but still be sort of competitive. And then the fueling is just being disciplined, I think. Just like take a gel, take a drink, take a gel, take a drink, and just do that right from the start. And that's where it's easy to let it slide, I think. Where in training I've been focused on that and just forcing myself to just like, oh, another gel, okay, and another.
Yeah, that practice is important. That sip, nibble over the long course of the race. And then I guess one other thing too, obviously with the vert creeping up here, are you going to be running with poles this weekend? Have you practiced with poles?
No, I'm not planning to run with poles. I think it would have been too short time to like get used to them, because I didn't have to use them in the marathon, never had to use them in any other mountain race, so there wasn't really enough time to build it into the training. But I think looking ahead to next year, then yeah, for sure. But this year I'd probably just be tripping over them and accidentally hitting people with the poles, so I'll just leave them at home, and then next year practice with them and see how things are going.
Yeah, and so kind of speaking of next year, obviously, running the 55K here right now, you've run 150 mile. Are we going to see you at anything longer, or is that 150 mile enough to never run that distance ever again?
When I got to the finish, I was thinking, I'm never going to run this again. But I think, I do want to go up in distance. I'd love to go up to 100K for sure and just see what it's like. Just because I can be out there longer and just enjoy running more, because I just love running, especially on trails. So the more time you run for, better. But I think I also have to be realistic and think, well, I'll see how this weekend goes. And if it goes well, I'm going to be really satisfied, because it is a bit longer than I've done recently. I think I've only really nailed races up to about, say, 4 hours or something. So this will be a little step further. That goes well, I'll probably take another step forward, maybe later this year. If it goes badly, take a step back, stick with the marathon stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Constantly adjusting. Well, we're so excited to see what happens this weekend for you. We're wishing you the best of luck, and we can't wait to see you out on the trails at OCC later this week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode. My name is Tom Evans. Sadly, I'm not able to be in Chamonix at the moment as I had surgery on my knee last week. But what I'm going to do is every episode I'm going to share with you my top tips from the trail. So, episode 1, my top tip for the trail is training. So the best way, I find a lot of people ask questions about how you should measure your training when you're on the trails. For me, I find tracking my training in hours and minutes is far more important than tracking it by mileage. Because if you don't live in a mountainous area, running 100 miles a week or 100 kilometers a week is going to be a very different time to running that same distance in the mountains. So instead of setting yourself a distance goal, set yourself a time goal for your training. And that can then be used for your intervals, for your hard sessions, for your long runs, for your easy and your recovery runs. And I find for me it just works so much better because you're not forever chasing the endless mileage, but actually you're really being able to focus on that key training. And I guess going with that is going to be, I'll give you my favorite session when preparing for a mountain race like CCC. It'll be 4 by 12 minute uphill intervals, followed by 2 3-minute best effort on the flat. I find that's a really great tune-up session that I would do sort of 3 weeks out from a main race. Helps get me in really good shape for climbing, and then also that maximum speed. So thanks for tuning in to episode 1. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Awesome. I am joined by my teammate, Sabrina Stanley. Sabrina is not racing this week, in part because she smashed Hard Rock 100 just a month ago in July. She's the 2-time reigning Hard Rock 100 champion. Obviously, Sabrina, you run a lot. But we're here today to talk about the other side of your training, which I think is really, really important and really valid, something I need more of in my life, and that's yoga.
Yes. I stumbled upon yoga 3 years ago, I think, and just like dove into YouTube and started watching all these different channels and really found when I enjoyed doing this, Yoga with Adrienne, and she's on the Adidas women's team.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I just started going through her catalog, and now I think I've been through her catalog of like 600 plus videos, like almost 2 times. And I just pick a different video each day and do a half hour to 60 minutes. And yeah, it has brought my training to a level, like I just feel more loose, more injury free, like less tightness, less like more mentally prepped as like a whole rounded runner.
Yeah, so my question, like, so obviously 3 years ago you found yoga. Was there a reason why, something that steered you towards like trying to find this other thing?
Yeah, a very accomplished runner in the sport. I was talking to her after, I want to say Hard Rock, I'm not sure, my first one, and she asked what I did for like stretching and just injury prevention, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just run. And she's like, oh, that's going to change. And at first I was like, no, I'm going to be young forever. Like a few weeks later, you're like, maybe I should like give her words like a little bit more weight. And so then I thought of like different activities that would complement my running and that I would also enjoy doing. I had done a lot of strength training in the past, like heavy lifting, like squats and deadlifts and just really like fitness competition stuff, I would say. And I thought that was slowing me down in a way, like the muscle mass. And so I wanted to do something that wasn't going to build muscle mass, but still like do some body weight action. And so, yeah, yoga seemed to fit the bill, and I really enjoyed doing it. And so it was easy to stick with.
Yeah, I love this side of you because I think most people know you, or see you rather, as this like intensely competitive, driven, like I think it's both intimidating and so I respect it so much. So I'm interested, most of us think of yoga as this calming, meditative, slow practice.
Yeah.
How have you found balance by adding that to your daily routine?
For sure. I would agree with you in the fact that I'm like a very high-strung person. Like I feel like a thoroughbred, like on the track, just like antsy, like I just need to go run. So yoga, I think, brings me from that caliber to like a normal person's, like I can get through the day without like just being so high-strung.
Yeah, I feel like it allows you to maybe tap into that, which I feel like, some people, I listened to an interview with Tim, our teammate,
Yeah.
Tim recently, about, this primal roar that he let out at the end of his PCT attempt. And he said that, most of us know him as this meditative, calm person, but he has this fiery side to him, and he had to kind of balance the two things. And so I'm wondering, like, it sounds like it calms you down. Is it, it's not a competitive practice, though. I mean,
Not at all.
So how does that add to your training?
Well, and I have to make it not a competitive practice, because I think if I went into my yoga and I was like, I want to be the most flexible in every position, and I want to be able to do the like full-on splits, and I want to nail every single advanced pose, then I wouldn't be a good runner. Like my like everything would just be too loose, and I wouldn't have the spring I need. So I consciously do what I can that day and don't try to overstretch. I just focus on staying at that intermediate level and nailing beyond the pose. I try to nail my breathing, and I nail that pose without like going into the advanced level. Like I don't want to, if I was like full bore yoga, I think like I would be not a yoga personality. I'd be like so intense about it and be like, I have to be the best at this. And so I intentionally look at it almost as I would like reading a book. Like it's just you're there for the pleasure of it, and you're not trying to race through it. You're not trying to get, like, you don't want to finish the book as soon as possible. You want to enjoy the story. And so that's kind of how I look at yoga, is I want to enjoy this process, and not so much like how fast can I accomplish it.
Yeah, so it seems like it's a settling practice, it's a grounding practice. It's, you went into it with the side of injury prevention. We've talked a lot, we're the same age, and yeah, we're in our 30s now, so we have to take care of ourselves.
Don't tell people
No,
that.
we're very young.
22 forever.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm wondering too, like, where does it fall in your day? Like, how do you use that as part of your training? Is it pre-run? Is it post-run? Like, how does it tie your day together?
Yeah, I'm not a big coffee person. My fiance is, and so he like I'll have probably like 2 or 3 cups a week. And so I would say yoga is equivalent to my coffee. Like I wake up and kind of take my time getting my mat out, and then once I do my yoga, I feel ready and like prepared for the day. So it's my first thing I go to. And I can like, also it helps you not be as competitive in it because you kind of like sleepily roll into it and you're not so aggro while you're doing it. Yeah. And I can totally like relate to Timmy and like that roar. It just, when I run, my mentality is so like aggressive, and I'm like, how, like I'm just like hyping myself up. Like I'm my own hype man 24/7. And so yoga is a time that like I can get out of my own head and I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about, you know, other things and that are like less intense.
Yeah. Do you think it acts as because you're doing it first thing in the morning, it feels like a systems check for the day. Does that ever steer your training?
I think I want to say it steers my training, but it allows my training, like it gives me kind of I guess it would steer my training. Yeah. 'Cause like I'm feeling like my legs are just not holding like, poses that really work your quads well or something like that. Like I'm not going to do a speed workout that day. I'm going to know today's going to be a nice, easy, just recovery jog. And vice versa. If I'm just nailing every pose and like holding them for minutes isn't an issue at all, then I'm probably going to be like, oh, I should tackle a pretty strong run today because I think my body can handle it.
I like that. I think that I could get on board. I hate stretching personally, but I think a morning yoga practice where it's like my systems check rolling into my day sounds really appealing. So my question to you to kind of wrap things up here is, what can people do to find a practice, to get into a practice? Like any advice for someone who maybe doesn't do yoga ever?
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing, this is not a commercial for Yoga with Adrienne, but my favorite thing about that, like her system, is that I got on it and I just enjoy her mentality because it's not like super yogi. It's just like her dog does it with her and it's in her house and it's super chill. But, she guides you through it. So you're not like looking at a book. You're not relying on yourself to be like, what pose do I do next? It's all like, I don't have to think at all. I can just watch the video and go from there. And so that's my favorite part about it, I would say, is just, like getting into that habit of having somebody else tell you what to do. And then you just click on your video and let her take it away. You don't have to think at all.
Yeah, that seems like very, very like entry level friendly.
Totally.
Awesome. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for
you.
joining us.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have you help crew everyone this week.
Yes, I'm so pumped.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us in Chamonix. We will be back tomorrow with more and more fun stuff for you.